Hey guys, I want to remind you to check out CF Capital. CF Capital is the premier boutique real estate investment firm in the Midwest and Southeast region of the United States. We are a national real estate investment firm with a purpose. We provide property investment and asset management solutions to help passive investors maximize returns on high-value multifamily communities. But our investments go far beyond acquisitions. We invest in people. We are in the business of elevating communities and raising the bar for everyone within our ecosystem. CF Capital is a real estate investment firm focused on the acquisition and operation of multifamily assets. We confidently deliver tax advantage, stable cash flow, and capital appreciation with a margin of safety. By investing alongside our team, investors can preserve and grow their wealth without having to deal with tenants, termites, or toilets. Investors come and stay for the outsized returns we create in our deals while appreciating the ancillary opportunity to make a bigger impact that only CF Capital can provide. If you're an investor and want to invest with us, here's how. Learn more about CF Capital at cfcapllc.com or by simply clicking the link in the show notes of this episode. We will see you on the inside of this powerful community. So let's elevate communities together.
It does not work just like by saying, oh, I want $1 million. Oh, okay, I get up in the morning, I pray, I meditate, I'm going to get $1 million. For what? What are you going to do with the $1 million? First of all, that's the question is. So you need to understand that. What do you want? Why you want? What is the motivation behind it? What's the vision? Where it's going to take you? All your life, you're just praying, I want $1 million, I want $1 million. You get $1 million, then what? 3 years later, 4 years later, you're back down to zero. Because you didn't have the vision what to do with it.
Welcome to Elevate, the masterclass where we dissect the elements of exceptional achievement and lifestyle design with a focus on personal growth and real estate investing. Now, here's your host, Tyler Chesser.
Elevate Nation, welcome back. This is Tyler Chesser. I'm so thankful to have you here, and I'm blessed and grateful to be sitting with Vinki Loomba today on the podcast. You are going to learn about manifestation. You are going to learn about vibrating on the wavelength of your dreams and creating and stepping into the greatest sense of human potential that you have, which, by the way, there are no limits to. And you're going to find out about that. You're also going to find about how to leverage flow, how to leverage neurology, biology into creating more opportunity in your real estate, but also not just more, but better, and what's in alignment with your purpose. And, because a lot of times we think, I just don't have enough and I'm not enough. And when I do this, I will then be enough. That's not what we're talking about today. You're going to find some secrets about living in alignment with what you are meant to live with, and also to play at the highest level. So you're going to love this conversation. And Elevate Podcast is all about mindset, mind expansion, and personal development for high-performing real estate investors. Of course, I'm your host, Tyler Chesser, and I'm a professional real estate investor and entrepreneur. It is my job to decode the stories, habits, and multifaceted expertise of world-class investors and other experts to help you elevate your performance and lifestyle. And I got to tell you, we are taking it to another level. So I'm not even going to ask you. So let's raise the bar today. I'm going to dive in. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. I'm going to ask you from the bottom of my heart, please share this episode with one person. That's the fee. And I'd love for you, if you haven't done so already, please give us a rating, review, and subscribe or follow Elevate Podcasts on wherever it is that you listen or watch podcasts. Keeping it super simple today. And let's dive in. I want to introduce you to Vinki Loomba, who is an entrepreneur and strategist with a background in commercial real estate, information technology, and academia. She is an expert in strategic planning and management with a strong ability to connect the dots. And we talk about that today as well. With her unique combination of corporate and entrepreneurial experience, she is quite familiar with busy professionals' distinct challenges. The goal of her work is to provide investors with the right knowledge to be able to make wise investing decisions aligned with their long-term financial goals in order to achieve financial success. Her in-depth experience as an IT professional drives her systematic approach to multifamily and commercial real estate investing. Vinki is the CEO and founder of Loomba Investment Group, which is positioned for exponential growth. Driven by her mission to help and touch 1 million lives in a meaningful way, she is best known for inspiring many in her circle. She strongly believes that with 100% focus and concentration, you can transform any idea into reality. You're going to learn exactly how that is the case and how you can leverage these concepts in your future as well. So buckle up and enjoy the spectacular conversation with Vinki Loomba. Vinki Loomba, we could have hung out for 3.5 hours before we started recording here, and we almost did. So I had to start recording immediately because you're sharing gold nuggets already. But welcome to Elevate, Vinki. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, and thanks for inviting me to your podcast, Tyler. I'm super pumped up and excited.
Oh, I'm super pumped up too. And the first time I met you, you really uplifted me and you really helped me vibrate on a higher wavelength. And I know you're going to do that today for Elevate Nation. So I'm excited about that. But as we introduce you and as we get you familiar with Elevate Nation, talk a little bit about your upbringing and your backstory.
That's a good question. Where would you like me to start? How far back you want me to go?
Well, tell me a little bit about, where you came from, where were you born, and, where did you grow up? And then how did you make your way to the US?
So I was born and raised in a very, very spiritual country, India, and grew up in that environment, learned a lot of spiritual practices. And then I came to US because my husband was in US. He came as a student. So he went back, we got married. That's how I came to US. But before coming to US, I completed a master's in India. I wanted to become a professor. So I also completed my, I would say, partial MPhil. That's a shorter version of PhD because I was pursuing my PhD in India. But then I got married, I came here. I completed my MPhil from here and enrolled for PhD in US at UC Berkeley. But, Destiny had something else really, really sweet in store for me. I became mom. So my husband's like, okay, now you cannot spend 5 years for your PhD. Maybe you wanted to try the business side of it. So I went into business. I found a corporate job. I was hired as a management trainee for Bank of America. So I thought I'll be here for a year or two, then I'll take off. Guess what? I spent 20 years there. Never left because I really enjoyed climbing the corporate ladder there. But that was not it because my ambitious nature and being always wanting to do something more. I just went into real estate at that time with my primary job. We bought our second home. And we were in a position to afford 2 homes. So we rented the first one. We learned about passive income. And we started multiplying single family duplexes and all that. I got my realtor license. I thought I could sell homes and make some money there. And I thought I'm invincible. And I didn't sell homes. I went to the retail side, started selling businesses over there. So did that for 4 or 5 years. But it was way too much with my the 2 W-2 jobs, me and my husband, 2 young kids, and all this portfolio. We didn't hire any property manager at that time because we wanted to do everything ourselves. And I always joke about that we didn't even know that the property management companies exist. But that was our own thing. And then we kind of burned out. So we slowly started reducing that footprint there. And at the time, I also got an opportunity to pursue my executive MBA here. So I completed that. Right after that, I got an opportunity to teach at the same university, California State University. So I started teaching there as an adjunct professor, 2 classes every semester. So I did that about 10 years, 11 years with my primary job. So fast forward, a few years back, I was able to take early retirement from my job because my job moved to New York. And I didn't have much choice other than either move to New York or find something in California. There was nothing in California that was comparable. So I decided to take early retirement and I stepped back into real estate. I wanted to go into merger and acquisitions because having the corporate background, I thought that'll be a perfect blend for me, because I knew the system side merger. And I thought how hard it could be to learn the business side merger, right? I'll be a perfect fit. So I was looking for some connection on LinkedIn who can help me break in. And then I ran into somebody's profile, $400 million asset under management. I'm like, oh, wow. How did that happen? Because I kind of barely knew the person. He used to work with me at the bank. So that's how I landed in multifamily. And here I am today, super happy. I love whatever I do and trying to make a bunch of difference in people's life around me, whether it's financially or I do have a nonprofit organization geared towards women and children. So we support multiple initiatives throughout the year.
So there's a lot that you just shared with us, and a couple of things that really stand out to me. And it maybe they stand out to me because of what I know about you and, you know, the essence of who you are. And, you know, I have to admit that I'm still getting to know you, but I feel like you've revealed yourself in such a beautiful way. And one of the things that you shared there was destiny, right? You became a mom. And so there were some pivots that you had to make early on, and that kind of, that aligned a certain path for you professionally, personally, and so forth. And maybe destiny also led to, you know, the decision to not follow the career trajectory to New York and to make some other decisions as well. But then going back to the earlier part of the conversation about, you know, coming from a very spiritual place, you know, in India. And it feels like these concepts have been extremely impactful for you and have led you to make certain decisions and lead a certain lifestyle and be the person that you are. And, you know, that's leading into how you interact as an investor, as an entrepreneur. So talk to me about, why is spirituality so important for you? And why is business, and maybe even real estate and capital raising and building relationships, why, from your perspective, is it actually a spiritual endeavor?
That's a very good question, I would say. And it's very thought-provoking as well, because spirituality is not a religion, first of all. Spirituality is more like finding out who you are. And in my perception, unless you know who you are, there's no way you can create an impact or you can make the right choices or right decisions for yourself. And I would say Tony Robbins is teaching the same thing. Even Dean Graziosi, I was watching his videos the other day. Everybody's talking about the same thing. So it's very, very important. Spiritualism is not a religion, like I just said. It's not like that you're trying to follow a certain path or certain guru or whatever, you know. It's basically self-discovery. The more you're going to discover yourself, the more you're going to do well. You're going to be able to take more calculated risk, better decisions, better relationships, because you know your core, where you're coming from. So you're going to be building very, very strong relationships. People are going to like you. They're going to trust you. They want to work with you. So you're going to be like creating a magnetic field around you. And I was talking about yesterday on another podcast about the same thing, that, you know, once you know who you are not chasing after things. Basically, you're creating a magnetic field around you that you're attracting things towards you, because you're at a place of calm, stillness, and I would say the word is like you're contented in a way that you are not creating in your mind some kind of scarcity. It's like more like in the abundance state. And that's how you are vibrating a little bit higher, like we talked about in one of the other podcasts, you and me. So your energy levels are a little bit higher. You're vibrating at a different level. And in that field, you're attracting those vibrations, the people who are vibrating at that level.
What do you say to people who are like, okay, I hear you. That's, you know, it's vibrating on a certain wavelength. My goodness. I just need the tactics. I just need the strategies. I just need the tools. I just need the technology. I need the right talent, you know, all of these things. And you're telling me about vibrating on a wavelength and attracting, you know, manifestation, being magnetic. What do you say to these people who just can't wrap their mind around what you're talking about? Because I get a sense that, you know, a lot of people feel that way. But what do you say about that, Vinki?
Most of the people, I was there too, actually. That's the reason I can tell from my experience. Because most of the time what happened is we are just engrossed within our thought process. So we create a bubble around us. We live within our bubble all our life, because we have our do's or don'ts. We have our own limitations. We have our own set patterns. And without knowing, not being fully aware, or unknowingly, we are following the same patterns every day. Like, for example, you get up in the morning, what you do, you open your eyes, first you run to the sink, you go brush your teeth. this is a habit. It's a good thing. It's a good pattern. I'm not saying it's a bad pattern. You don't brush your teeth, but it is one of the patterns. But you acknowledge that because you're doing that, are like being fully aware. But there's certain things that you're not aware of or do not have enough awareness to know, but you're doing it unknowingly over and over again. And then you're expecting the different results.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is you are in the pattern, you are in the situation, and you don't realize that you're doing it. So unless you lift yourself a little bit higher, like I say, a little bit different wavelength, you won't be able to see it. But if you do that like one notch or maybe half a notch, you'll be able to see it. And you will set yourself free from there.
So let's talk about that being fully aware piece. And by the way, there's a great book, and I believe it's called Awareness, I believe. Mm-hmm. And it is an amazing self-discovery journey to go on. And I probably need to just revisit that book because it's almost like a meditation. When you read it, it's like, oh my gosh, you're unraveling this onion. And I'm sure that you go back and you go through that process again, and there's something new that comes up based on the part of the journey that you're on. But you mentioned the self-discovery and just being fully aware. It almost feels like what you're suggesting is that's the precursor to vibrating on the wavelength of attraction rather than repelling the things that you want or operating out of a place of scarcity. Is that fair? And if so, what does that self-discovery look like, and how can people start to engage in that more fully?
I'm going to share my story, how it happened to me. Maybe that'll give you some insight into it. I was just totally like everybody else. I think 99.9% people are doing the same thing over and over again without any realization. So I was one of those people too, like I was trying to do something different by adding more to it, right? Like I had a W-2 job, like I told you earlier. Then I wanted to expand more, but I did not know that I wanted to expand on the awareness aspect more. I thought maybe adding another job or adding more money into my life will give me the fulfillment or, satisfy me what I was looking for. So I added another thing by just getting into real estate. That was not enough. Okay, let me do my MBA now. I got my MBA done. Okay, I became a professor now, which I always wanted to do, right? That was an intention from the very beginning. That got fulfilled at a later time, but I got whatever I wanted, right? So I was doing something right intentionally, a little bit there. So all the things that I was attracting, it was happening, but not very strategically, because you want it to do very strategically so that you get to your vision, whatever your vision is. So in this whole chaos, what I was trying to attract and just made my whole life like that, very busy. What happened one time, we came back from India and I got diagnosed with acute liver damage. And I was hospitalized and like 7 days in one hospital. Then they moved me to UCSF because one of my nephews, he's a surgeon hepatologist. So he was like, okay, she needs, if you wanted to save her, we need to move her to UCSF. So they brought me to UCSF, and my daughter, she's studying medicine too. So I think I was just like really blessed in that state, I would say, a lot of doctors, a lot of connections were there who saved me. And that was very enlightening experience because I saw the power of connections, a power of networking at that time. Because in the UCSF, I was being treated as like a VIP guest kind of, not a patient. Mm-hmm. And then what happened over there one day, I seriously got into the mode where I felt like I was dying. I didn't even know I was dying or no. It was a moment of enlightenment, you can say. I was going through some procedure. All of a sudden, I started seeing all the lights. My eyes were open. My daughter was standing next to me and I was talking to her. And then like, I can't see anything. And it lasted about a minute or so. But what happened, the aftermath was the doctors took me off all the medications. All the procedures were stopped. And they said they're going to monitor me for 2 days and they send me back home without a scratch. I was saved. No transplant, nothing. It took me, but the thing was, when I came home, it just like really, really kind of experience that shook me because my mind was not in sync with my body. My mind was running like 100 miles an hour or 1,000 miles an hour. My body took a toll through all these 15 days of hospitalization. They were not in sync. So I was just wondering what happened. And then I realized that all these years of my life, That was back in 2010, this happened. And I was like, all these years, whatever, I spend my life, I never realized that I'm going to die someday. I was thinking, I'm going to live forever. I'm going to do whatever. Right. So this was my first encounter with death. So that put me back on my spiritual trajectory. So at that time, I wanted to find out, who am I? I wanted to know more about life. And through this journey or the research, I went through, so many different paths, meditation, yoga, or following some gurus, this and that, reading a lot of books. I figured out that, human potential is so big, it's way bigger than this physicality. We have so much potential. We just underestimate ourselves. We set our own limits. We decide to live in our own bubble. The growth for us or our community is just working on ourselves and working together. So the purpose of life for me is connecting with others and helping each other grow, because that's the true success. And that's, in real estate too, we see that in the multifamily syndications, right? We work as a team. The more we collaborate, the more success is for us, for all of us, whether it's our investors or the general partnership team, asset managers or property manager, whosoever we collaborate with, brokers, together is a true success, if that makes sense. I'm sorry, it's a long story.
No, that's an amazing story. And I appreciate you sharing that. You went through something, very traumatic to a certain degree. Obviously you felt like you encountered death and you were looking at death right in the eyes, and you experienced this profound enlightenment moment. And, thankfully you were healed thereafter. But, do you feel like others, to gain this level of awareness and gain this connection with their purpose, like what you just described in terms of, connecting with others and helping others grow, being your, awareness or your self-discovery through this unbelievable experience? Do you feel like others need to get to a point where, it's like, maybe not rock bottom isn't the right word, but, they have to go through something where it's that transformative to be able to have that clarity? Or is there another way to do it as well? What are your thoughts? You may not know. I don't know.
No, that's a really good question again. But, human beings, it's a human nature. Like say, we live in our own world. We have our own universe and we have our own bubble, right? We never wanted to get out of that. That's our comfort zone, comfort place, right? So unless something really bad happened to you, the awakening does not happen. But that's not the case always. If you decide that you wanted to do something, you're going to wake up from your sleep, whatever you're doing, from your bubble. You wanted to do something bigger and better, and you wanted to live your optimal potential. Nobody can stop you. It's your decision. But first of all, you have to understand that you have the capability of making that decision. You do not have to wait for some setback or something big or something wrong happen to you in order to wake up.
Okay, I feel like that is a message that now everyone who's listening to this or watching this needs to receive. So let's take a moment, right? Decide to live your optimal life now. You have the decision. So now we've made a decision, and now we can step into that, and we can start to ask ourselves some powerful questions, right? Like who am I? What's the purpose for me? What really lights me up? And, let's wake up too. The other thing too is you're talking about vibrating on this wavelength, and you and I joked to say, hey, we could have had a 3-hour conversation before this, because it felt like that and it would have gone by quickly and we would have really, really loved that. But we were talking about collaboration opportunities. We're talking about what we're seeing in the marketplace. We're talking about this beautiful trip that you just went on for your anniversary. You were telling me beautiful things about how you felt about my family and all of these things, which I loved. But it's this vibration and it's this belief that you can contribute and add value to other people. But you also have this belief that with 100% focus and concentration, you can transform any idea into reality. So what we're talking about is this basis of self-awareness and clarity and being awake. But then from there, it's about creating, what it is that you want. So talk to me a little bit about, number one, what does 100% focus and concentration look like? And how are you leveraging this concept to create the conditions of your life as well?
That's the law of attraction we're talking about. right there, right? Unless you focus on something, you are not giving you 100%. So I'm gonna recommend one book here. I don't know if you read that book. It's called Flow.
I've not read Flow. Who wrote this one?
It's by Dr. Csikszentmihalyi.
Oh,
I think Csikszentmihalyi.
yes.
I think we talked about that book in our last conversation too. So that book is on human optimal experience. That's what book talks about. See, when you're in the flow state, you know who you are. Like, for example, I think book talks about that too. Look at the symphony conductor. When they're conducting the whole symphony, their hands are just moving, like in sync with everything, whatever's happening around them. They are not necessarily looking, okay, my pinky is moving, my finger is moving, because they are not. Because it's just like it's a flow state. So when you're in the flow state, you are able to attract much faster. That's when law of attraction work. It does not work just like by saying, oh, I want $1 million. Oh, okay, I get up in the morning, I pray, I meditate, I'm going to get $1 million. For what? What are you going to do with $1 million? First of all, that's the question is. So you need to understand that. What do you want? Why you want? What is the motivation behind it? What's the vision? Where it's going to take you? All your life, you're just praying, I want $1 million, I want $1 million. You get $1 million, then what? 3 years later, 4 years later, you're back down to zero. Because you didn't have the vision what to do with it.
Elevate Nation, you can't manage what you don't measure. So when it comes to marketing and sales, how can you be sure your decisions are the right ones? I've got the answer for you. Sharp Wilkinson. Sharp Wilkinson is a unique agency that specializes in developing data-driven marketing and sales strategies for clients. I've been working with Sharp Wilkinson for a while now, and I can personally attest to the way that they immerse themselves in my organization and maintain a hyper-responsive orientation. Best of all, they use data to inform their strategies and drive real, tangible growth. And every company needs continuing growth, right? If you think your organization could benefit from data-driven marketing and sales, growth starts at Sharp Wilkinson. Visit sharpwilkinson.com to take the first step on your journey. Tell them Tyler sent you. And you got to know what the end game is. Like
Exactly.
Where are you going?
It's very important. Exactly.
Where are you going? Why are you going there? And what are you going to do with that? And it's not about you. It's about how can you flow? How can you step in a greater sense of abundance so that you can give and you can be more impactful and you can be more of service, in my opinion. I mean, I think it should be a part of the end game, right?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You said service. That's very important because on your path, on your journey called life, how many lives you're touching around you, that's very important. Because you are a sidekick in their story. Like you are a hero in your own story called life. All the people that's coming into your magnetic field, I'm going to use the same word again, or come into your wavelength, they are the sidekicks. They're the side actors in your story. So similar way, you are the sidekick or the side or the extra role, whatever you're playing in their life, right? So once you understand that, it's all cumulative or collective growth. So once you have the concept, things get smoothened. You're coming from a place of fulfillment all the time. You are there asking, how can I add value to you? It's not about you, it's about us all the time then. If that makes sense.
It's so good. And I just want to add to the conversation because you were talking about the book Flow. Dr. Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi, is really the foundational researcher who really studied this concept and brought it to reality to most folks, lexicon and consciousness. But there's an individual named Stephen Kotler, who's one of the greatest New York Times best-selling authors who we've had on the podcast. And he wrote a book called The Art of Impossible, and he really referenced a lot of Csikszentmihalyi's work as well. So I definitely encourage the listeners to check that out because, we can't pack all of the concepts into this conversation in terms of how you can leverage flow, but there is a process and there's a strategy to be able to do that. But in addition to that, in many aspects, it is about then kind of leveraging a certain level of vibration. And, understanding and being aware of your energy and being conscious of what you want to create and what energy you want to bring to relationships, to others, to connections, to just the way that you're interacting with your own challenges or problems or opportunities. And so I want to ask you, in terms of vibration and energy. Like, why is that so impactful to you in your success as an investor and creating the conditions that you want? You know, the things that you got really clear on, the things that you're like, okay, this is what I want. This is my end game. Why is it that vibration and energy is so impactful, and how does that actually make things more effortless for you?
Because the thing is, it's all about yourself. It's all about you. There's nobody else, because you are projecting your world. Whatever you are, that's what you're projecting outwards, right? Like, for example, coming to this conversation with you today, this 40 minutes that I'm going to spend with you today, right? I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to go meet Tyler today. I'm super excited. The conversation is going to go really well. We're going to talk about really good stuff. And things are going, it's flowing just like that, right? Mm-hmm. We didn't write down anything. We did not write any script. We didn't talk about this before. We thought, okay, we are kind of in the flow state. The things are happening, right? Just a small example over here. So it's all about you. So versus if I thought, oh my God, I have to go to the podcast today. I need to prepare. I need to think what he's going to ask me. What should I answer? I should Google the questions. I should write down everything. And I'm going to be very specific what I'm going to say. Which way is going to go? Nobody's going to connect with you. There's not going to be the right questions. There's never going to be any right answers. I mean, there's no question answers anyways to begin with. It's all about you. So it's just like, that's what I was saying to begin with, find out who you are. It's a self-discovery. So whatever energy you have, whatever you're projecting out in the world, that's what you're getting back.
So it's it's the expectation and then the projection, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, what do you want, first of all? Who you are. That's why I'm saying it's very important to know who you are. So as long as you know who you are, what you want, where you are in your life, where you want to go, and then accordingly, you're creating, shifting your energy. You might have to break some patterns, some limitations there, some beliefs, that doesn't work for you. And you're doing something different for yourself. And then you're always engaging with your thoughts, trying to, kind of monitor what you're thinking, and you decide which thought you wanted to write. And there's a story behind that too. I'm going to share that with you. Once I went to Tennessee for a meditation retreat. That was about 10-day long program or something. And before that, we were in Nashville in Marriott or somewhere. So our hotel was like right on I think at the edge of the freeway. On the freeway, we could see the cars passing by. So in the morning, when I was done with my meditation routine, I was sitting at the window. My husband was still getting ready. And I'm seeing all those cars passing by. I'm like thinking, like, so many cars, red, white, blue, yellow, whatever. And all of a sudden, this thought came to my mind, there's so many cars going. That's how all the thoughts are going in the mind. 70 mile, 80 mile speed, or maybe 1,000 mile speed. So many thoughts are going on. And I can't even, catch all the thoughts was going. And then I was trying to compare my thoughts with these cars. And the cars are passing by, but I can decide which car I wanted to ride, whether it's red, yellow, blue, whatever. It's my decision. So why can't I make the same decision for my thoughts, that which thought I want to ride? Why I'm just like taken away without any realization, without any awareness. I'm just writing the wrong thoughts and making the wrong decisions in my life and end up at the wrong place. So that was a turning point for me.
That's really good. And what it makes me think of as well is Dr. Joe Dispenza, this quote, it sticks out so strongly to me. He said, "Never let a thought slip by your consciousness unnoticed." Mm-hmm. In my opinion, that's the first step, right? Because, exactly. What you're talking about it's the next step. Nothing is going by here that I am not approving, right? My thoughts are things that I've chosen and that I'm now leveraging my subconscious mind to create more of, which is based on what I know is true about myself and the end game and the place that I'm going and the things that I'm doing, because that's truly what I want. But, the first step is like, all right, let's just notice them. Because to your point, I mean, anytime I meditate, it's pretty astounding. And you can get lost in it. I do get lost in it. I am not perfect. Like, they don't slip by unnoticed 100% of the time. But I think the more you practice, the more you watch, the more you get curious, it starts to get a little bit more clear and things start to slow down a little bit. And maybe it's almost like mental flow, because you can start to see it instead of it just being unconscious. And it's just these, this huge traffic jam of 1,000-mile-per-hour cars just flying everywhere. It's like, I picture, I'm a big basketball fan, and I picture like Kobe Bryant on the court. He was like poetry on the basketball court. And he wasn't thinking, to your point, he wasn't thinking about every single move. He wasn't thinking about all of his reactions, but it was flow. It was mastery. And it's almost like mastery of the mind. When you're watching things and you're starting to say, wait a minute, I'm not going to let this one slip by unnoticed. I'm going to start to investigate. I'm going to start to question. I'm going to start to parse apart. And then I'm going to say, wait a minute, let's mold this in a different way. Let's turn the direction. Let's change this. Let's leverage this into something that's going to serve me, that's actually going to get me to where I want to go. But I don't know. What do you think about all of that?
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, I call it a mind diarrhea. So if you have a diarrhea, right, you take precautions, you do something to stop it. So that's how your mind is. Mind is monkey mind. You cannot stop the mind. You cannot see. I'm going to tell you one thing. You say, I don't want to think about something. Just think about anything. Like say, I don't want to think about ice cream today. So then watch how many times, or notice how many times you're going to think about ice cream. Mm-hmm. You cannot take your mind off of that.
Neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's how mind works. So in order to say, I wanted to control my mind, that's never going to happen. What you need to do is you need to calm your mind. And you can calm your mind is just when you are monitoring your thoughts, like what's going on in your mind and why is happening. Trying to resolve that why is happening, first of all. Satisfy that. Once you do that, the thought's going to go away. It's never going to come back. So you just have to start let go of those thoughts. Those are not serving you. So it's like I was saying, that analogy I gave you, I can pick the car of the color that I wanted to ride. Why? I cannot ride in every car. So same thing with us. We cannot ride every thought. So that's what creates the confusion. That's why people cannot make the right decision. They're like, oh, I'm not focused. I don't think I have enough brain power. Or I don't think I have enough capacity. I can tell you, I was talking to somebody yesterday regarding some issue, not real estate related, but outside of real estate. And I asked him, I said, can you help me with this? Like, oh, no, ma'am, I cannot do this. I'm like, no, you need to call this person. No, I don't think I can do that. They already told me this thing is going to happen. And I'm like, oh my God, I just felt like I just need to take something and bang him in the head. And he's like so limited that he doesn't want to get out of his bubble. He's like, oh no, this is it. This person told me this way. This is the only way it's going to happen. And I kept telling him politely, I'm like, no, please, this is not how it works. You need to go back and tell them exactly whatever I'm saying. And he was able to get the answer for me. So that's what is happening in the real case scenario every day for everybody. I know it's a very foreign phenomena, foreign concept for a lot of them, and it sounds very confusing. And it's not a simple concept, to tell you the truth. I mean, I would have perceived the same way too 20 years back when I started my journey, And
it's a practice, and over time it gets easier and it becomes, second nature. To your point, you're listening to this guy and he's so limited and you can see it very clearly, but he's a fish in water. He doesn't see the water all around him and he doesn't see the opportunity to, take himself out and to look at things in a different way. But in my opinion, it's conditioning the mind. It's having conversations like this to see what's possible, to attach yourself to reference points, to read great books, to, surround yourself with mentors and a mastermind and, just, your peers in general. It's like being clear about what is it that's coming in here. You've got to guard the gates of your mind. I almost look at it as, it's like a room filled with white carpet. And, if somebody comes in with mud all over their feet, well, guess what? You're going to ruin the room. And perhaps it's going to be, that's going to leave some stains. And over time, you're going to remember that. It's going to, leave an etch into the way that you behave and the way that you believe. So, tell me a little bit about how you're conditioning the mind. I also do want to hear a little bit about the meditation routine that you have, because as we talked about, it's a practice, right? This is not something that just happens in one day, but over time you get stronger and stronger through some practice. But, talk to me about those two things. It's meditation as well as conditioning your mind. What are some things that you love to do?
See, conditioning of the mind it starts very early on for everybody. So as a parent, you have young kids. So you have to start at a very young age with your kids, because for them, you're the leader. You lead by example. So it's not like that. What are you going to say to your kids? They're going to do 100%. They are observing you all the time, and they're absorbing all that information. So that's where the conditioning is happening, knowingly, unknowingly, both. And a lot of time that is missed very early on, because parents, and especially the environment I grew in, our parenting is a lot different than here, I would say. And our parents were like really, really strict. And they're like, okay, you have to go to school, you have to get A grade all the time. So those kind of environments we grew up, and a lot of conditioning, a lot of limitations for us, even though we grew up in a very spiritual country, I would say. But still, there was a lot more attached to it beside the spiritual aspect of it. It's like we were doing certain things certain way. But coming to here, after that transition, that opened up my mind. Okay, there's more to it just going to school or getting good grades. I can do much more in my life. But I did not know that I have to live too, because I never lived, because I was chasing after so many things, maybe money, because I thought money will bring me happiness. So if I look back and try to connect the dots, like Steve Jobs says, you can look back in your life and connect the dots.
Mm-hmm.
If you connect the dots, you can see all those first 20 years, 30 years, you are not, I won't call it you are living. Maybe you're living some percentage of life. You're not living 100%, because you're always in the chase mode. You're trying to chase something. You want to achieve something. You feel like, oh, I'll get somewhere. I'll become an executive, or I'll become a millionaire, billionaire. Mm-hmm. Then I will start enjoying my life. Isn't that true?
That's, I think that's the average thought process for sure.
Exactly. So see, that's why that happens. That's all conditioning, where we got from our parents, because that's how they were living. That's what they knew. And I won't say they did wrong or right. They did their optimal best to teach us whatever they knew, mm-hmm. up to their capacity, right? And I'm very, very grateful for that. But at the same time, now how do you break all this conditioning, all those patterns? That's where all these practices come in. That's where you need to sit down, start spending time with yourself. Spending time with yourself is a meditation too in itself. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do any yoga, any kriyas. You don't have to, move, twist, turn, anything. Just sit with yourself only. Can you do that in today's date? Not necessarily.
Is that what you do?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much attachment, there's a TV, there's phone. You can't even get away from your phone. Mm-hmm. Do that. If you start doing it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and slowly start increasing, yes, you will start feeling or getting the taste of it, and then you can increase it. For me, I do a little bit rigorous meditation. I spend 2 hours with myself every day in the morning. That's what my routine is. I get up.
Just quiet, mindful meditation?
Mm-hmm. Quiet, mindful meditation. And I connect really fast now, because I've been doing it for so many years now. So I can go to the calm state or the stillness state very soon. Like I was sharing the example with you in Alaska, then I could see the things that I'm seeing, not everybody's seeing there. Because I was connecting, and even my husband sitting next to me, he was trying to show me, hey, look at that. And I was just feeling like that. I would kind of tune him out. It was like, not necessary right now, that kind of thing was happening, which is like, it's kind of amazing to know that you have that aspect in yourself too. That is kind of unknown to you.
So do you use mantras or are you mainly just mindfulness meditation, watching your breath and, being curious about what comes up and letting that go away? Or what does it look like? Or is it a set of different practices?
Yeah, I started with the mantras too, because it's a good idea to start with some mantra or something initially. And if you do not have a mantra, you can start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just start counting. Whatever it is, it's just like getting the focus to one point. And the thing is, if you tell people, oh, focus on your breathing, they cannot do it for very long. Maybe, one breath, two breath, and gone. You'll write some thought and you're gone somewhere else. And I talk to so many people, in my own family, I'm talking to them, they're not there. And I'll say, please come back, talk to me. Like, oh, I'm here, I'm sitting in front of you. I'm like, no, but you are not here. You're somewhere else.
You can even tell.
Yeah. You're hearing, but you're not listening.
Mm-hmm.
You're not here. You're not present. And I tell my brother all the time, even my husband too sometimes, please be here. And they just get so annoyed with me.
Well, that's we have this beautiful tool in our mind, and it can run parallel programs, right? It can think about 7 different things and be in one conversation or one meeting or, in one physical place, but it can be all of these different places and it can be nowhere at once. And, that's not really using it to its utmost capacity. And so like this practice that you're talking about allows you to be present, which it seems has created tremendous opportunities. Not only that, but also it's created this presence and this joy of living, that it feels like, you just show up with clarity and coherence that many others don't. So, but what else do you feel like you get from this type of continued commitment to listening and observing and focusing rather than being distracted and being the default mechanism of the programming of society, your parents, perhaps other people that may be acting in a more limited way? What else does this type of lifestyle and practice give you as an investor or otherwise?
So you were talking about focus and concentration earlier. That's what you get. Because listening is a very important skill that we forget. Because again, I'm going to say something, and a lot of people might not like me saying that. But what happened is when you're talking to somebody, most of the people, they're thinking about what they're going to say next or when it's going to be their turn to talk. So there goes listening go out of the door. But when you're listening carefully, you're picking up the points and you're getting the knowledge, or you're getting the understanding about yourself. Oh, I didn't know this thing he's talking about. Then let me go explore that. Let me figure out what is it. So I know more. So that's the difference between the hearing or listening. You were talking earlier, oh, you could do 20 different things with your mind, but not necessarily. You are not 100% there in one thing. You're not focused. So you are not using your optimal potential at that time. You're never going to get to the flow state with that kind of mindset, first of all. And then if you're doing 20 things, you're not going to be good at any then. Physically look at it. We can do only one thing at a time, right? Mm-hmm. Physically, we could be present at one place at one time. So why can't we start doing with that our mind too? Just be focused for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, wherever we are. Just be 100% present. Like I'm here, I'm 100% fully present with you at this time.
Not an easy thing to do in a very distracted world. And,
exactly.
It is a superpower. As far as I'm concerned, it is a superpower to train yourself to be focused. And, I think that you would probably agree with me on this. And 2 hours a day in this practice, I can only imagine you are many levels ahead of where I am, but I'm nowhere near perfect in this. And, their distractions still sweep me up, but it's about kind of getting back on the saddle and just saying, you know what? Because I didn't do this perfect, that doesn't mean that I should just give up and not remain committed to living this type of lifestyle. It's like not beating yourself up and not letting that inner judge that, wants to criticize you at every corner and wants to say like, okay, yeah, you say that you're this, but, you weren't present when she's talking about being present. It's like, because it's interesting as you were saying all that, my inner voice in the dialogue is saying, well, but what if you thought about something else right now? And what if you did this? And it's like, no, wait, come back. Do you get what I'm saying, Vinki?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And you use the word perfect, right? Nobody's perfect, number one, but I'm going to say the opposite of it. Everybody's perfect in their own space. It's the realization, because whatever whatever your knowledge is, whatever your bandwidth is, according to that, you are perfect in your own space. So as long as you embrace that, that's again, a growth path for you. So perfection is nothing but embracing the imperfection. That's what the perfection is. If you think everything is perfect, nothing is perfect. Look in the universe. Nothing is perfect. There's so many imperfections, but the thing is, all these imperfections make this universe such a beautiful place. It makes it perfect as a whole. So don't ever say, I'm not perfect, I'm not there yet, because everybody has their own journey and they are perfect, fully wholesome person in their own space, whoever they are. And once you embrace that, it's a growth right there.
That's exactly right. This is so good. And, you know, to go from good to great to excellent to extraordinary to outstanding, it's not about, in many cases, it's not about massive leaps. It's about 2 millimeter shifts. And as you make these 2 millimeter shifts of focus, of presence, of listening, of finding ways to add real value, that's where you start to make massive leaps. And I truly believe this in real estate, you know, financially, in the way that you are experiencing joy in your life, but in also just being a master at your God-given, you know, beautiful talents and abilities and all of these things. So I just think that, you know, this is such an important conversation. It's such an important dialogue to have. So Vinki, I just really want to thank you for this conversation. I want to, you know, before I let you go, I want to ask you a few more questions in the rapid fire section of the podcast. It's called the Rare Air Questionnaire. It is rare to be focused. It's rare to engage in this type of practice. So let's go through this. I want to ask you a few things before I let you go. Number one, what are 2 or 3 of the most impactful books that you've read over the past few years, and why? And what about them has been so impactful?
The first book I would say is a really good one is oh gosh, I'm forgetting the name. It's Difficult Conversations. That's a good book if somebody wants to read it, because that gives you like really, really good insight into yourself on your thought process. And the other one I'm going to share with you is that I think I read long time back, like Winning Friends. That was a good one that everybody reads that. I think Whole New Mind is another good one. That was a long time ago. And then Flow is the all-time best book that I recommend everywhere. Everybody, I think, should read the book Flow.
I love that. And that's a good invitation for me. So I'm going to put that on my list immediately. We will put links in the show notes as to where the listeners can find those books. So thank you for those. And this may be challenging because I'm going to push you to go a little bit further. Aside from what we've already talked about today, what is the biggest way that you elevate your life on a daily basis, Vinki?
By helping others, by giving more and expecting less and less. Because if you take care of your expectations, there's nothing better than that, because you are already walking towards your journey to fulfillment then.
I love that. Trade your expectations for appreciation and I think it's almost like let the spirituality unfold, you know, to something greater than what your conscious mind could even create. What do you think about that? Is that too outlandish to say?
No, I think it's good. You put it in a right way, actually, better than me.
Well, you teed it up and I just helped kind of hit it over the net there. So that's interesting. I love that. But, you know, helping others and adding value. You've added a tremendous amount of value to us today. But I'd love to ask you, I mean, what's the biggest way that you elevate others around you, you know, on an ongoing basis?
Usually connecting with them and asking them questions. I usually ask them if there's something is missing in their life, some disconnect. And being an IT professional, you know, I'm good at looking at the details or finding the gaps. And I try to help mitigate those gaps, whether it's a financial gap or just whole life scenario, somebody's looking for something. And overall, I would say just being resourceful to others, because I made a promise to myself that I wanted to set myself as a resource to many. So people can come to me, ask for anything. So I wanted to be resourceful enough to connect the dots for them.
And I want to ask you, because your mission is to help and touch 1 million lives in a meaningful way. So being resourceful to others, I would imagine, is a part of that.
That's true.
You know, how does that look? And, you know, how are you doing on that mission?
I'm doing really great. Actually, we support many initiatives that's geared towards women and children. Like, I think you already know that. We talk about that multiple times. I do have a nonprofit organization, and we support multiple charities and try to help people whatever we can. But beside that, the nonprofit, I do work for profit as well. And I help other people who are in my network, whether they're my friends or my distant friends or my acquaintances, help with their financial growth, because I'm in the multifamily arena and we syndicate the multifamily deals. We allow other investors to invest alongside us so they can enjoy the benefits that we are seeing. So we are sharing that joy with everybody.
So talk to me a little bit about where folks can find out more about what you're doing, whether it's, profitably in the real estate business, in the real estate arena, or for your foundation and for your cause. I mean, talk a little bit about where people can find more about that.
Anybody can connect with me through my website. It's loombainvest.com. And I actually do have a free ebook as well, where I talk about syndication secrets. I think revealed, something like that. I forgot the book name. I think it's Syndication Secrets Revealed. You can download your you're welcome to download that book. And other than that, I'm on the social media. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and I love to connect with anybody and share ideas.
And you're going to get exactly what you see here today. So Vinki, this has been really, really spectacular. I want to acknowledge you for helping me think bigger, helping the audience think bigger about what is truly possible for them, and understanding, the natural laws of attraction, and, how you can leverage biology and, neurology and really mindfulness and these, kind of Eastern and Western concepts to go exactly where you want to go and live this spiritual life and live this joyful, fun life. I just think you've set such an amazing example of what's possible in real estate, what's possible in your personal life, and how you've continued to evolve, through destiny, through these different turns in your life. So it's really been a joy to have this conversation with you. Do you have any parting thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd like to share with Elevate Nation today?
I will just say one thing: live. That's the best thing you can do in this life, because this life is to live, enjoy, and live your optimal potential, and not be just stressed out. I don't have this or I don't have this, because that's where we waste most of our lives. Just learn to live wherever you are in whatever space.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for that, Vinki. I can't wait to have another conversation with you, because, this has just been absolutely spectacular. So Vinki Loomba, until next time, thank you again for being on Elevate Podcast. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tyler. I really enjoyed that as well.
What a spectacular discussion with the great Vinki Loomba. I am blown away by her presence and her practice, because it shows, it radiates. And I feel like, because of the wavelengths that she is vibrating on, she's attracting so many new opportunities. She's attracting such a higher and larger future as a result of this practice. So I want to encourage you to consider, what could your practice be? And who are you? What is it that you would love to create? And what is your potential? And, she's talking about, hey, human potential is so big. We set our own limits, but not if we're conscious of that, not if we are aware that perhaps there's some programming that we'd like to unlearn, and we have the opportunity to unlearn. So I want to encourage you to reflect upon, what is it that you would like to unlearn? What is it that you would like to condition your mind for? And how can you get conscious about that? Perhaps what practice would you like to start engaging in? And I want to encourage you to set the bar low, to start easy, and, to start small, because I don't want you to overwhelm yourself, but it is this ongoing consistency and curiosity that is going to win the day for you as you start to manifest a bigger future, as you start to create more opportunities, as you start to allow abundance to flow through you and with you into greater senses of opportunity in your future. So I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. If you have, please share it with a friend. And don't forget, of course, the most important piece here is to take massive action on what you learned. Elevate Nation, until next time, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Elevate. If you enjoy this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to elevate your results by taking immediate action on what you learned. For more, visit elevatepod.com.